Good morning, everyone. I'll call our Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting for April the 2nd to order. It's customary for us to start our meetings with a prayer and a pledge allegiance to the flag. Those in the audience as visitors, if you wish to join us in the prayer, you're welcome to stand and do that. You can take the time to have your individual prayer, or you are welcome to use it as a moment of silence. At this time, I'll call on Ms. Barnes for the prayer, and after that, Mr. Outlaw for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me. Heavenly Father, we come into your presence today, and I just worship you as the risen Savior who is alive forevermore. Lord, I thank you for this day that you've blessed us with, Lord, and for another opportunity to serve you and to serve others. Lord, your word says that the Lord gives wisdom, and from your mouth comes wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And I pray today that you would direct this meeting and that you would fill us with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Lord, I also pray for your hand of protection over our public safety officers, Lord, and our military, and that you would bless them for their service. And I ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd also like to ask the board, if you would, dear, today to remember Bobby Jones, who is the chairperson of our adjoining county in Wilson County, and she has passed away recently last week, and her funeral is at 11 o'clock this morning, if you'll keep that in your prayers today. At this time, we've got, first of all, I'll ask commissioners, y'all tired of looking at one another, or can we move on with the meeting?
Move on.
Move on, okay. Yeah. We've been together quite a bit the last 4 or 5 days. But this time, we'll call for approval of the minutes. We have one set from our regular meeting on March the 12th. I call for a motion to approve or any additions or changes to those minutes.
Move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Outlaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Have numerous seconds. I heard Mr. Bellfield first, maybe. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, it's a public comment session which allows anyone from the public to speak to the board about any matter that is not on the agenda. Otherwise, if it's a public hearing, we'd ask for you to wait till that time. We do have a sign-up sheet out front prior to the meeting, and I did not have anyone to sign up this morning. But is there anyone present that missed that part and would like to speak to the board about any item that you may have on your mind this morning? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item number 6, which is a presentation of the longleaf pine for Donna Medley Boone. And I'll call on the Honorable Judge Pell Cooper. Is he available yet?
He is on his way.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we're gonna move to item 7. I should have looked up prior to starting that, but Donna, you'll be okay just a minute, won't you? Okay. You've been waiting 35 years. 4 or 5 more minutes will be okay, I think. The next item is item 7, a resolution that's going to be presented by Mr. Hill. Before I get too far, do I have Mr. Hill here yet?
No.
Okay, we'll move from that one. I know Ms. Wood is here because I've already talked to her. So I'll go to item 8, which is the budget amendments, and ask Ms. Wood if she would present those at this time. Good morning.
Good morning.
The following budget amendments are presented for the board's consideration for fiscal year 17-18. First one is Department of Social Services. This amendment's to budget additional federal funding for foster care caseworker visits. And the Energy Neighbor Fund, no county funds are needed. It's $3,003. Next item is for Senior Services Department. This budget amendment is to budget additional funding received for senior center donations during fiscal year 17-18 to be used for current year activities. No additional county funds are needed. $4,228. The next item is Parks and Recreation Facilities Maintenance. This is budget amendments to budget additional funding in fiscal year 17-18 to cover additional utility costs at the Red Oak Park due to additional lights added to the park. This is a fund balance appropriation of $25,000 to help cover those additional costs through the end of the
If we have a
year.
question you want us to ask as you go, or wait till the end?
Either way, you can wait. You can go ahead and ask me the question if you like.
Okay. On that one, that amount surprised me just a little bit, quite frankly. And that's just utility cost only. They are not leased lights.
It's the utility cost for the lights. And that's an estimate I'm trying to get us through the end of the year without having to come back to the board, so hopefully we won't use the full 25,000. But because of the additional lights they added, it really increased what we're having to pay out there.
Okay. I just, the amount of, with today's lighting like it is and the efficiency of them, I'm a little bit surprised at that amount. But I guess it is what it is. Thank you.
The next item is with the Controlled Substance Fund. This budget amendment is to budget additional revenue received in controlled substance funds to purchase technology equipment required to begin the operation of the drone obtained through the grant funds. No additional county funds are needed. That's $10,000. Next item is insurance proceeds. This budget amendment makes funding available from insurance proceeds received from claims to cover vehicle repairs, equipment repairs, and building repairs due to water leaks. It's $44,724. No additional county funds are requested. Next item is with the Emergency Telephone Fund. This budget amendment is to budget fund balance appropriation to reimburse the Emergency Telephone Fund for an ineligible administrative line charged to the fund in fiscal year 17. It's $35. Next item is in the Inspections Department. This budget amendment is to budget additional revenue received for permits to purchase 4 four-wheel drive trucks to replace existing trucks with that are over 10 years old with high mileage. No additional county funds are needed. It's $112,000. And the next item is with Local Human Services. This budget amendment is to appropriate additional funds in fiscal year 17-18 for the Boys and Girls Club for the advancement of funding for expansion of youth development services in the southern end of Nash County through a 21st Century Learning Center grant for ARC programs for services in the areas of academic success, healthy lifestyles, and good character and citizenship. Based on the Commissioners' discussion at the March 28, 2018 budget retreat, at the end of the grant cycle, whether 1, 2, or 3 years, based on grant renewing opportunities, Nash County will reduce the Boys and Girls Club allotment for that year by the $25,000 for this advancement.
All right, any questions on those 5 budget amendments from the board members at this time?
That $25,000 that's going to be reduced, that's for the next fiscal year budget?
It's my understanding it's at the end of their grant, when the grant ends.
So you got 2 more years on the grant?
Well, it's a 1-year grant, but it has renewing opportunities for 2 years, so it could go up to 3 years.
The funds are going to be used during the current year that we're allotting now.
Yeah, I understand that what we're doing, we're reducing the money that because we're advancing it now. But I was just wondering the number of years, is it going to be just for, is this a one-time?
Mr. Belfield, when they came to see me about this, they did not know whether the grant was going to be renewed 1 time or 2 times, which would be a total of 3 years, and they asked that we approve it subject to it being reimbursed at the end of when they stop getting the grant. So it could be next year, or it may be the year after.
Oh, up to 3?
Up to 3, yes, sir.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions? Seeing none, pleasure of the board.
Move for approval.
Got a motion by Ms. Richardson for approval of them.
Second.
Second by Mr. Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Wood. Okay. At this time, let's go back up to item number 6, and I'll call on the Honorable Judge Pell Cooper to join us and Judge, I'm gonna let you handle how you wish to do this. We're
right.
very honored that you're with us this morning, and equally honored at what you're here for.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call a special young lady up here to be with me now. Come on up, Miss Donovan.
And maybe her husband as well.
Yes, I think so. Stand right over here. It is an honor and a privilege for me to make this special presentation in front of you, the Honorable Nash County Commissioners. It is also fitting. You commissioners are the public face of our county government. You make tough decisions on funding, taxes, and on how to keep our citizens, especially our children, healthy, safe, and protected. But you need strong leaders on the ground to help put your ideas into action. And today, we are here to honor one of those special leaders. I, and on behalf of Governor Roy Cooper, my brother, who told me today that he'd like to be here, but he couldn't, have the privilege of presenting the governor's highest civilian honor to a person who has made a lasting, positive impact on the people of Nash County. She grew up in Bailey and was the first of her family to go to college, having received her bachelor's degree in sociology from Atlantic Christian, now Barton College, and later a master's degree from ECU. Not long after she graduated, she began her stellar career with the Nash County Department of Social Services. She excelled in many positions involving prevention services and child foster care. In 2009, she was promoted to Deputy Director of Human Services. During that difficult time of recession, with few resources and few personnel, her leadership prevailed. Her fine work led to her promotion to the Director of the Nash County Department of Social Services, where she led the effort to consolidate the agency. Her efforts have helped deliver to the taxpayer the most for their dollar. In addition, Donna has tirelessly served her community and her church in many ways. For example, she has served on the Nash Edgecombe Economic Development Board, on the boards of the Down East Partnership for Children, Communities in School, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, the Twin County Domestic Violence Task Force, and many more. At church, she has been a deacon, a member of the choir, and a volunteer for many, many communities. And of course, she's done all of these things while being an awesome wife to Bert. Bert, my friend, you married up. And she also did these things while being a wonderful mother to Luke and to Casey, her amazing children. Friends of Nash County and honorable commissioners, it is clear that the Order of the Longleaf Pine, to which the governor has proudly affixed his signature, should be presented to Donna Medlin Boone. Now, Donna, as a member of the North Carolina Order of the Longleaf Pine, when you travel anywhere in the free world, you are, yes, we're good. You are entitled to make this toast. Here's to the land of the longleaf pine, the summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. Here's to down home, the old North State. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good, good. Yes.
Donna, we thank you on your way out for what you've done for Nash County. Bert, we thank you, sir, for what you've done and also what you have allowed her to do. Well, what y'all have done together. I better rephrase that just a little bit. You probably live about like I do at my house. And Judge, could you make arrangements to come back over here every Monday morning when we meet just to make us feel better? I appreciate it. Thank you for being here this morning. Mr. Hill, you just lost the audience, but I'm gonna call you forward, on, item number 7. And, while you're on the way up here, this is the resolution about the potential sale for the, Nash County Home Health Agency. I trust that you will explain, thoroughly what this resolution means and the, agenda item itself. Sounds like maybe this decision has already been made the way it's written. I'm sure it's written to follow the statute when in the, truth of the matter is we're in a process that we are following to make the decision whether it will be sold or not. This to me sounds like it's a decision that's already been made, but I'm gonna ask you to explain that for the public, so they'll know exactly where we are, if you would, sir.
You're absolutely correct, Mr. Chairman, that this is certainly an early stage, really the inception of looking at considering whether offers yet to be received that could be considered. And a resolution such as this is a simple general statute requirement. It has been reviewed by our consultants, home health consultants that we have retained. It has also been reviewed by their attorney, and it's been reviewed by our county attorney. And the resolution does, in fact, the wording, and I've talked with a commissioner or two about that. I even went over to Home Health last week and met with the staff to make sure on Wednesday or Thursday, I believe Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, went over and made sure they understood that nothing has changed since last August or September about the Board of Commissioners' intention here. And the intention here is simply to consider any offers that will come in at a later time. As a matter of fact, I don't even think we've received the offer, and the deadline is not here yet. I believe the deadline, unless it's extended, is April 6th. And I'm sure even at the deadline point in time, the consultants will have a number of days that they will spend looking at these offers, assuming there are several, looking at compiling the different information, the credibility of the offers, not to mention the amounts of the offers. So I think it'll be some time before it gets down to that. And not to mention that following this meeting, there's a public hearing that's required. And maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse a little bit before the resolution. But assuming the resolution is approved or adopted this morning, it's already been advertised as required prior to 15 days before the April 16th meeting at 2:30, where a public hearing will be held and is required to hear anyone from the public, whether they're healthcare providers or actually the general public citizens, about the issue of whether their thoughts on even the idea of considering the sale of home health. So it is an early stage. You're absolutely right. Not asking the commissioners by any means to make a decision. It would be way premature to do that in that we've received no offers. If you would like for me to, I know you've read the public notice that went in the paper, in 3 papers, required for 1, but it went into 3 papers and on our website. And it certainly did meet the 10-day requirement. Now, it's a 15-day requirement on the public notice for the public hearing coming up April 16th, and that has already been advertised in 2 newspapers on Thursday, on both the Telegram and the Graphic. We got it in. So we've met the requirements for the notices to appear in the paper. The resolution you've received in your packets, I will read that if you'd like, or...
I would like for you to read it if you don't mind, because the next to last paragraph states very well where we are at in this process, if it's okay with you.
Okay. Did you want me to just read that last paragraph?
Board have a comment on that?
Let them read it. Read the whole thing.
Read the whole thing. Okay. The resolution titled Resolution of Nash County Board of Commissioners. The following resolution was duly adopted, and that's assumed that it would be, by the Nash County Board of Commissioners, known as the board, the governing board of Nash County and the county in a duly called meeting on the 2nd day of April 2018. Whereas the county currently owns certain assets, which assets associated with and utilized in the operation of Nash County Home Health Agency, known as the agency. Whereas the board has performed a review of the current home health operation environment in its region, as well as the agency's fiscal and operational position, and has examined and considered the prospects for continuing to operate these services as an independent provider in such environment. Whereas the board has examined the potential benefits of conveying the agency to another operator and believes it is in the best interest of the board and the community to further investigate the opportunities for a sale of the agency at this time. Whereas General Statute 130E-13D sets forth the procedural requirements by which the board must sell or otherwise convey the agency to a third party, such procedural requirements were promulgated to ensure that all interested parties, including without limitation the members of the general public, have the opportunity to comment about a potential sale or conveyance. And whereas the pursuant of General Statute 130E-13D1, the board desires to declare its intent to sell the agency. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board hereby declares its intent to sell the agency contingent upon the board's receipt of a proposal for such sale, which complies with the requirements of North Carolina law and is satisfactory to the board. This resolution was duly adopted by the board effective April 2nd, 2018, and have been attached to the minutes of the board for its duly called meeting of that date. And this would be by the Nash County Board of Commissioners and signed by Mr. Robbie B. Davis, Chairman, and attested by the clerk to the board, Ms. Janice Evans.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hill. Any questions of Mr. Hill at this time from board members?
Is that resolution, Mr. Hill, needed at this time?
Yes, sir. It is needed before you consider the offers. It really was a part of the offering package that this be approved. And it really would be before you could consider, and we have legal counsel here, of course.
Before a city or a county can sell a hospital or a home health agency, we have to declare our intent to sell. And that's the statute number one. It has 8 things we have to do, and the first one is we shall first adopt a resolution declaring its intent to sell, lease, or convey. And that's what we're doing today. We're taking care of number 1.
Does the intent have to be the word? I mean, could it be a consideration to sell or something instead of intent?
What you're doing is this resolution, now therefore be it resolved, says we are declaring our intent to sell contingent, as Mr. Hill emphasized.
Okay.
That you are satisfied with the offers. And it's contingent on you being satisfied with it. So you don't have to sell. We just have to declare our intent to sell.
And as I previously mentioned, there's a public notice that's already appeared in 2 newspapers, possibly 3, the Enterprise by now, that states that there'll be a public hearing as required on April 16th at 2:30.
This resolution was prepared by the attorney for the consultant, and she's involved in about 40 home health agency sales, and she's put together, she knows what she's doing.
Any other questions from board members? Mr. Belfield, anything else?
Well, I just have a concern about selling it.
Understood.
Period.
Right.
And my concern is this, that if you sell it, and I'm not against private enterprise, yeah, I think they need to exist, but they only exist if they're making a profit. And
They only exist for a long period of time.
sometimes, and this I have seen, and sometimes when they get stuff, they purchase something, sometimes they may have to downsize in order to get in that profit mode. And therefore, constituents can be neglected. And I have had criticism come to me about some of the home health care where their workers are not doing what they should be doing. And so therefore, I'm skeptical of even thinking about selling it at this time.
Right, understood. And of course, I think in what we've tried to do this morning is make it very clear that this board will make this decision
I understand. I
at the
understand
end of the process.
The decision really is number 7 and 8 of those 8 things you got to do. So we've
Right.
got a lot of hoops we've got to follow before we even decide whether we're gonna sell.
Any other comments from board members or questions of Mr. Hill? Ms. Wells?
I've had several calls from people that think that we're gonna sell it. My answer to them has been, we're just looking at the thing, but this is not for sale. If the board has the final decision whether we sell it or not, you're just getting information. Is that correct?
Absolutely, Ms. Wells.
Anything else? Mr. Hill, I guess at this time, we need to approve the resolution. Is that the next step?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd entertain, if there are no further questions, Mr. Lamb, you have anything to say?
No, sir.
Okay. No further questions. I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Combs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Outlaw. Any questions on the motion itself? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign?
No?
I think we record that as 6 ayes and 1 no, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you.
Good to see you, sir.
Thank you. Good.
Next item on the agenda is item 9 is board appointments. I'll call on the Assistant County Manager at this time. Morning,
Good
Stacy.
morning. The following appointments need to be considered. For the Home and Community Advisory Committee, I informed the board last month that Ms. Nancy West Brake has determined that due to other obligations, she cannot fulfill her duties on this committee and has resigned. We need a recommendation for the vacancy on the Home and Community Advisory Committee. And I apologize to the board. The request last month was that I provide you with information about the current members on that committee and the districts that they live in, and that work has not been done yet. So as soon as that gets complete, I'll be able to provide that.
Anyone come with an idea this morning, or you want to hold this till we get the rest of the information?
I think we ought to hold it.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
Next one, ma'am.
The next one is for the Tourism Development Authority, the TDA. Terms expire April 30th, 2018 for the following members: Tracy Jackson, Robbie Davis, Ernestine Neal, and Jerry Patel. All of these members have served 3 full terms and are not eligible to serve except for Jerry Patel. So we need to know if Mr. Patel will be recommended for a 3rd term.
Okay, I talked to Mr. Patel, and he would like to continue to serve, and he has been a good member, attends the meetings, and quite frankly, brings a lot to the meetings, and I would like to recommend to the board that we approve Mr. Patel to continue serving.
Is that a motion?
I would ask the board member to make that motion, Mr. Belfield.
I move that, what is this? his last name?
It is Jerry Patel.
Patel, okay, I make a motion that, he serve another term.
All right, have a motion by Mr. Bellfield. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign, motion carries. The other three members, including myself, terms have expired. The two, Ms. Jackson and Ms. Neal, I talked to both of those in the last week and let them know that unless someone has a member this morning they want to recommend for those two, I'd like to hold those over for 30 days if we could, which if we don't take action, I think they automatically stay on, as I understand it.
Yes, sir.
We do have our budget meeting coming up in May, which is our most important meeting each year, and to get through May would help quite a bit with some experienced members, and both of those are excellent members. I've asked Ms. Jackson if she would look. She has served very well and represents Spring Hope. She has always been on the Spring Hope Chamber of Commerce, and I've kind of asked her to look in that area, even another member from the Chamber of Commerce in Spring Hope if possible. And I believe she is in your district, Ms. Barnes.
Well, she lives in my district, but
That's
Spring
correct.
Hope is in Dan's district.
Right, she lives in your district, that's correct. I did make a note of where each one of them lived this morning. But if we'll work on those two, and of course, the other one lives in my district, Ernestine Neal, who also has been an excellent board member. And both of those are public members, so they can really be anyone. They don't serve as a collector or in the travel and tourism in another way. So if we could consider that, and I would request of the board to continue letting me serve as we do occasionally, in a position like that. We've done it occasionally, but it's up to the board, and I'll leave it for board discussion at this time.
I think that would probably be very appropriate to do that, and I would ask the board to consider that in the form of a motion.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Outlaw to consider or to appoint me to a position for another term. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
We're voting just on you at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, yeah, I have a motion by Mr. Outlaw and a second by Ms. Wells. Is there any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? I thank the board for allowing me to do that, and I will continue to do my best to serve that. And we'll just hold the other two over until next month, if you would be working on those two. And Dan, if you could, if that's in your area, Spring Hope area, if you could work on that one as well.
I will.
And I spoke to Tracy, and I think she's gonna begin working on it.
Okay.
You could just coordinate it with her.
I'll get with her too.
Okay, that takes care of those, and I appreciate the board's consideration of it, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. The next item is for the Nash County Board of Adjustment. Terms expire April 30th, 2018 for the following members: C.A. Gardner, Cindy Joyner, and William Parker. Mr. Gardner is not eligible to serve another term, and he also served as the chairman.
My question there is, Ben's the chairman, and Nancy's not with us this morning. Oh, she is back there. Do you bring any thoughts or recommendations, Ms. Nixon?
Not at this time. We'll be happy to see if we can come up with some or make some recommendations at your next meeting if you'd like.
Do you have a vice chair, or we just need some guidance on what to do with that position?
Has been the vice chair. Cindy Joyner has been the vice chair for a couple of years.
Okay. What do you want to, we want to go ahead and approve the two that we can and leave Mr. Gardner open? Is that what you prefer?
That would be. I think we have a good working board together. We've got a couple of new members on that board. But generally speaking, it doesn't meet very often. And so there is some learning curve involved, so we would like to keep those members that are eligible to serve.
Is that board elect its own chairman, or does this board appoint the chairman?
The board selects its own chairman.
that's good. All right,
Does Mr. Gardner need to stay in place until a third person is identified, or?
well, he will automatically.
Automatically, that's the
according to what Mr. Durham
Okay.
just indicated, I think.
Okay.
If you don't replace them, that's good.
Yeah, he'll stay in place. Now, I guess it's a board decision whether he stays chairman or not.
Okay, great.
Okay, so at this time, the recommendation is to leave the Gardner position open, and it's up to the board what to do with the other two, which is Cindy Joyner and William Parker, which can indeed continue to serve.
The planning board members, are they well distributed across the county?
This is the Board of Adjustments, and I did not look at that, Mr. Bellfield.
I didn't either, this for this week,
Nixon,
so that's
do you
why I
happen
asked
to
the
know?
question.
Do you happen to know if they are well distributed throughout the county?
I believe they are. The most recent appointment, I believe the most recent appointment to that board was Kenneth Mullen, who used to be the fire chief in Rocktown. And we have members from the northern part of the county, members from both the urban and the southern part, I think. So I think it is fairly well distributed. I'll be glad to do some.
Maybe if you would just drop the board an email on what it looks like. Are you interested in that board and the planning board, or the Board of Adjustment?
Both.
Both. And also indicate what our mix, what the racial situation is with each one of those boards. I know the board is conscious of that each time we appoint new members. Okay, did I get a motion to reappoint the two, or is that where I'm at? That's where I'm at, okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Combs to reappoint Cindy Joyner and William Parker. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Outlaw. Okay, any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries. We will notify those members.
Okay.
All right.
And then, of course, the last one is the Consolidated Human Services Board for the psychiatrist member, and we still do not have a recommendation for that.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is monthly tax report. I'll call on Mr. Wren. Good morning, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board,
We got something else we need to talk to you about too, sir.
oh, okay. First of all, I've got my, of course, informational report up there. It's for information purposes only, but I'll be glad to answer any questions about that. There's definitely pollen in the air. I apologize for my
Definitely is.
nasalness, but it's definitely out there.
Any questions on the monthly tax report from Mr. Wren at this time?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I need to step out for a couple minutes.
You want us to wait on you, sir?
You can just keep going,
Okay, all right.
because I'll be back quick.
And, of course, I continue to appreciate my staff's effort to do a good job in collecting these taxes, and the taxpayers trying to do a good job of trying to cooperate with us. So we really appreciate their efforts as well.
All right. Any questions, Mr. Wren? Seeing none? Thank you, sir. Monthly tax report, tax refunds is next.
Refunds, yeah, I just need your authorization to disperse the funds.
All right, we got one refund, I believe I saw. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions on that one refund, board members? Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Moved by Ms. Barnes,
Second.
second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you about the other matter at a later time, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
We're now on item number 12, which is commissioner comments. This may be a new record for us. Any commissioner have any comments at this time? Seeing none, I just made myself a note that I wish to thank the staff for our budget retreat last week. I think it went very smooth, very well. very well planned out. I know it doesn't just happen, but I thank the board and the staff for working through that with us, and I thought we had a real good 2 days, productive. Didn't leave there with everything done, but I think we accomplished a great amount, and I just want to thank the staff for putting that together. And at that, I will turn it over to the manager, item 13 for the manager's report.
Yes, I have a few little things here. We did have a department head retreat here in the county, and it went very well. And we again thank the board for the attendance and the retreat that the board had last week. Had a lot of comments about it, and I'd like to thank staff for putting everything together and having our agenda set very tightly, but very much we were able to fulfill the entire agenda in a timely manner, which is good. Reminder that the joint committee with the Board of Education will meet April the 11th at 2 o'clock here in the Commissioners' boardroom. And also that same night, we'll leave here no later than 3:30, probably about 3:15 if we could, to attend the district legislative update meeting in Pasquotank County. That's the 11th of April. First meeting's at 2 instead of 3, and we'll be leaving here about 3:15 to go to Pasquotank County for that meeting. That's all I have.
Okay, do we know how many have signed up to go to that meeting at this point?
All.
All of us, that's great, okay,
So we can take 2 vehicles.
okay.
I'll drive one.
Just a question, have we received the information from the school committee yet that we requested in our last meeting?
We have not.
I would hope we would have that before our next meeting.
I can check on that again.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
We'll be together one more time, but our next meeting on the 16th, we've got the groundbreaking down at the senior center at 10 o'clock that morning before that, I think. Just remind the commissioners of that.
Okay.
April 16th.
All right.
No.
I said
he
senior
He
center.
said
May it sound like convenience center. It's gonna be a convenience center as well. For our seniors in that part of the county. All right, any other comment from board members? If not, I will call for a motion to go into closed session for the matter of attorney-client privilege and economic development at this time.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Bellfield,
Second.
second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on that motion? Did you have a question on that motion, sir? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. I call our regular meeting for April the 2nd back in order, and where we're at for the benefit of the public is we had our regular meeting, then we went into closed session. We stated before the closed session that we did not expect any action to be taken after the closed session. We had an item to come up in that the sheriff asked to speak to the board in closed session. After checking with the sheriff and determining what he wanted to speak to us about, we determined it was not eligible for a closed session item. Therefore, we are reconvening in open session to allow the sheriff to talk to the board about what he brought to us this morning, which is some budgetary items and whatever else he may wish to bring forth. And I will turn it over to you at this time, Mr. Sheriff. Good morning, sir.
Thank you, and I hope you had a good Easter, all of you. Hated to come in today with this, but when we had the retreat last week, we spoke about some different items, and I got up with my county manager afterwards and could see the way some of it was leaning. I wanted to give some clarification to the board of some requests that I had made and some difficulties that I had with the existing budget. And a lot of it is, I don't think the board is completely informed, because maybe when we first presented it, you didn't get the gist of what I was after. The first one is the Viper system. My understanding, we were not going to fund the deputy's position to come in behind Todd Wells. In mid-January, myself and Major Wooten had a meeting with Z Lamb and told him our intentions of taking Todd Wells and putting him over the Viper system as a coordinator for EMS, fire, and law enforcement, and to be the contact person to help facilitate putting the fire system on 800 megahertz. The reason I wanted to do that is Todd's been in this position for 15 years. He knows Viper better than obviously anybody in our office and probably anybody in the county as far as administration that works for Nash County. For the simple fact is, Nash County Sheriff's Office has been with Viper for 15 years. With that, we had to backfill a position, and when I talked to Z about it, it was taking a lieutenant and putting it into duties of what Todd was doing at that time. And then in July, asking to backfill this position with the deputy, because obviously if you put anybody in the position of doing this as a coordinator, you're going to have to backfill it. So that's the reason where we were at with it. What he brings to it also is that we're going to have additional training. I think it's offered in Florida and somewhere else. I can take drug asset forfeiture money that's not going to cost the county a penny and do this training, about $5,000 or $6,000 with it. I just think he would be a good fit with it. That was the first proposal that I wanted to push to y'all of why I'm wanting this deputy position to backfill his position.
Any questions from board members on that particular item?
Explain to me a little bit more about what Todd would be doing and why you would consider how those two things work together.
He's going to be the coordinator of the Viper. In other words, he's the liaison between the state. The State Highway Patrol is the administrator of Viper at this time. He already has the contacts up there. We're already up and running with it with the Sheriff's Office. I think the board has voted that we're going to go with 800 megahertz, and the Viper system is the system that we're going with as Nash County. You've got all these firefighters, all these fire trucks. Eventually, your EMS, I know they're putting in some of the command vehicles at this time. He is the person that's going to put the radio systems together, coordinate with the fire and rescue, and not only that, at all of our county fire meetings, he's going to be there. It's to building that bond between law enforcement, fire, and rescue. He's going to be the go-to person with that, and to build the relationship of not only the Viper system, but also any needs that they have, whether it's traffic direction at a fire, or they might have a rash of arson somewhere. Todd's got investigation abilities, and he has the deputy sheriff mindset of knowing the law enforcement functions of our office. I think he's going to be a good fit for that position.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sheriff, at our retreat, the way that item was left, it wasn't determined completely. We left it up to the manager to continue working with you to decide how he was going to structure that whole situation with the radios as it relates to Mr. Wells, as it relates to the other gentleman in EMS, and we just haven't finalized that item as of yet. I think once that item gets finalized, then we would know whether that deputy position would need to be added or not. But Mr. Lamb, where are you at with it at this point in time?
We're still, the committee's still meeting, and I need to get with the sheriff on that. I just briefly, I didn't realize that there would be created another position in order to allow Mr. Wells to be the coordinator of all the Viper radios for the entire county. And so that's where I need to further talk with the sheriff.
Okay. That's where we are currently. All board members agree with that? Yeah.
And if I could add something
Sure.
to his comment. Obviously, if you take anybody from anywhere, you're going to have to backfill that position, or they won't doing something in the first place. Because if you've got the ability to have that much time to go do something in a whole new job arena, and you're not going to be missed where you're at, it would make me kind of wonder where you're going to be at. But thank you. Thank you.
All right. We'll take them to the next item, sir.
Okay, the next item is, we had talked about the pay raise, the 5% pay raise. I'd ask it for narcotics, and the reason for the amount of calls, they've got to have this phone with them 24 hours a day that goes with their job. Obviously, informants, dealing with them is 24 hours a day. And then the jailers, we were asking for a 5% pay raise for them. And I think the county settled for a 3%, and I was just wanting to bring it to you to let you know where we're at. And my county manager, me and him had spoke about it, and he was wanting to put a study together. Well, we did this study, and our surrounding counties, we did one, and he wanted to take Wake County out of it. So we did a surrounding county study. Franklin County is 16% ahead of us on jailers. I've lost 7 jailers since July. We're going to continue to lose more. Our pay is $29,841 for a starting jailer. Franklin County's is $33,900, 16%. You have Wilson County that is at $32,434, and Johnston County is at $32,000. Looking at it real quick, that's about a 7% pay raise that they're ahead of us on our jailers. A jailer.
That starting salary will go up 3%. So
And then we'll still.
July 1.
Then we'll still be 3% behind, and also you're going to be 13% behind Franklin County. So 3% isn't going to catch them up where they're at. I'm just putting it to the board. We're losing good employees. You have employees 168 hours it takes to train this jailer. Not counting, that's the schooling they go to, not counting the amount of time that you've got to bring this jailer into the family of Nash County, if that's what you want to call them, assign them to a training officer, a field training officer, or a jail training officer, a JTO, spend all this time training them, and then they find out that they can go right here to Johnston County, drive 20 more minutes and make 16% more. I just want the board to look at that, to understand that, you know, our value, our employees, and maybe there's some other areas within Nash County that maybe you want to look at just to better preserve these employees, because change cost, and especially when we have good employees, we lose them to these surrounding counties. But I know that our county manager had said that he had was going to look at it. I just took it upon myself to go ahead and do it now before it went into budget and we lose it. So that's the second item.
On that one, Sheriff, what I'd like to say is, first of all, you spent the day with us on Thursday, a lot of it, and you saw you were one of 18 other presenters that day, department head or something close to, that presented wishing funds and so forth. What this board did on that item was we just, rather than we did not feel comfortable taking an isolated group that we had more turnover than what we feel comfortable with, and automatically give them a raise at that point in time, plus the cost of living raise, which every employee will get that works with the county. What we did do was specifically ask the manager to do an in-house study to look at all positions, including the jail specifically, and your narcotic agents, and determine, or any other group of positions that had excessive turnover, and do a study on those and present it to the board with a recommendation of what he felt like we should do. We just feel like this board has to look at all departments in the same light. Therefore, that's the way we chose to do that, which this board on Thursday felt like that was fair. But I want to make sure you understand what our instructions were. It wasn't no. It's we need to do some due diligence on it.
Right, and while we're on that, and I know it's not in my realm, but I'm a county employee and I watch out for county.
Sure.
Look at your EMS workers right now at the pay of surrounding areas of Halifax County. I've just spoke with one of those over there yesterday in Walmart that's gone to another county over there. It's just to pay. When we got good employees, we need to keep our good employees.
Well, we do exit interviews, as you know, and one of the things I hope they'll look at, and I think they will, is to determine why that employee left, because most of the time, they'll be honest with you when they're going out the door. And a lot of times, we think it's always about pay. Many times, it's things other than pay, but it could well be pay. But that's what the board chose to do, and I would expect that sometime, it's not gonna be done tomorrow. It would take a number of days and probably a couple of months to get that done, but then at that time, we would certainly look at that position is what this board chose to do. But I want to make sure you understood the action we took.
I do, and I just want to give you some clarification on it.
Sure. Okay, all right. Next item, sir.
Our next item is, we had asked for 17 cars. I met with my county manager, Z. Lamb, and we had come up with an agreement of 13 cars, and he said he'd bring it to the board. Obviously, with asset forfeiture, I'm wanting, and I told him, I said, well, what we can do with these 13 cars is we've got about $500,000 in asset forfeiture right now that should be dropping with the near future, that we can buy another 3 cars or possibly 4 cars to get to the 17 cars we need because of the mileage that we have on these cars. After we cut this budget of us asking for 13, and then we cut it down to 10 or to $350,000, I can't use asset forfeiture because that's supplanting the budget. I would like to leave it at 13 cars so that we could come in and use asset forfeiture. I want to take the money that we get off of these asset forfeitures from drug dealers and stuff, that's not costing the county a penny. Actually, it's saving us where we can buy 3 or 4 cars and then use that instead of being back down to 10 cars and having 150 to 200,000 miles on these cars. We don't need deputies going up and down the road, getting in a car chase or responding to something and have a car with 200,000 miles on it with loose steering in the vehicles. As vehicles get time, as we've discussed earlier, it would help to have cars in good working order. And one of the things is the newer cars. With mileage, you start to getting fractures in the frames and things of that nature. And the undercarriage of the vehicles are not as stable and sturdy as they were when they were new. But if you could consider the 13 cars, it would help me where I can take asset forfeiture and be able to provide back to the county.
You're talking about something now that I don't quite understand. First of all, I'll let board members, any questions?
That was my question, I think. So what you're saying, Sheriff, is that if we don't provide the money for you to buy 13 cars, then you can't use any of your asset forfeiture money to buy more?
That is correct. After I make a presentation, and as we did with Z, bring it over there, and me and him agreed on 13 cars, or said he would bring it to the board. We put 13 cars in it. Say y'all go back and cut me to 12 cars. After that budget is cut, I cannot use asset forfeiture to buy cars.
So then what happens with that money?
That money will stay there and we can buy something else with it, but that was one of the reasons I wanted to take the Jeremy Hardy, the lieutenant that we're currently using asset forfeiture, paying his salary, his full salary, take it out of there so we can buy items of equipment. It's not like I want to carry it home myself. I mean, we don't do that. I want to watch out and be a good steward for the county. And obviously, this asset forfeiture, $500,000 is a lot of money, and it's unreal what this task force has put together. But I want to give back to the county, and this is how we do it.
So, I mean, my thing was I'd hate to see you buy something you don't need.
Right.
Rather than something you do need.
Well, and I think it'll help the county. You know, when you're buying vehicles, patrol vehicles, and equipment for these vehicles, it's going to save us on that end.
So when we're in budget discussion, I'm just trying to understand. So we have not finalized the budget. We're still in budget discussions.
You are. That's where I was going, yes, sir.
Okay, so if the sheriff would want to use that asset forfeiture money to purchase those vehicles, would there be any restriction from him doing that at this point?
None. Would be none, because we've not been into budget yet.
Okay.
Can you do it in the current year?
I could do it in the current year, but that money all's not dropped yet because they had a delay in dropping the money. But I was with the U.S. Attorney last week, and he says that this money, or our Eastern District U.S. Attorney, he says that money is coming. Matter of fact, I was joking about it. He was riding with me to a location. I have a few breaks in my windshield. He said, "What's this with the brakes and windshield?" I said, "I'm waiting for this federal asset forfeiture money to drop so I can buy a windshield." And he says that it's coming. So we know it's coming. It's just going to take time to get there. But I'm thinking any time now this money ought to start dropping. But that's just the way we're going to give back. And I didn't think that the board knew all these rules and laws about this. And I didn't until I got in office.
So if that money comes before July 1st,
We're going to sit there and wait for it, and if I get the 13 cars, then we're going to buy 3 cars with it, and then we'll get what we need. And obviously, if you need another car because say one gets wrecked or something in the year, you can use asset forfeiture to go buy it.
May I suggest in future years then, given those rules, that you request 5 vehicles so that we can then give you more than 5 and you can use as much of that asset money as you want to for vehicles?
I appreciate that, Mr. County Manager, but I've got to be realistic too.
Well, what I think the board needs, Sheriff, is we don't understand how you can spend this money naturally. I thought it all had to go to the schools. Evidently, it don't have to go to the schools.
Federal asset does not. The state money that we provide, and that's another topic I'm going to talk to you about, is the schools.
Right.
Our state asset forfeiture
Well, you know
money.
how I got to work. I want to finish this one before you go.
I understand.
Okay. Z, help me, or Ms. Wood, what we decided, and Sheriff, I want you to understand that this board in those 2 days, we went in there knowing we got 2 very large expenditures that we're gonna have to take care of out of fund balance. So we were really guarded with our fund balance because we know we got to buy these radios that you're well aware of. We also know that we've got an even larger expenditure coming up because we are compelled, this board has made a decision that we're going to improve our internet service for our citizens throughout the county. That could cost us up to $4 million. That's an item that can't be borrowed. We can't borrow that money. We've got to use fund balance to do it because it doesn't have any value. You can't carry it to the bank and tell them so-and-so. So we're very protective on what we spend out of fund balance because we know those 2 items are laying there. And that's why we are trying not to agree to a budget that exceeds what our projection is for revenue for the next year. Simply because of that potential of $6 million that's laying out there that we know we're gonna have to get from somewhere. We don't have that resolved. So it's not, people accuse me particularly of being extremely tight with the county's money. We are extremely tight. The whole board is and always has been. There wasn't anybody, even the longest serving member, and I don't know whether it's Ms. Richardson or Mr. Belfield, but it really doesn't matter. When they got here, the fund balance for Nash County was in very good shape. It always has been. All the leaders before this board here has always protected fund balance and used it for those things that help us grow it. And as we learned during disasters, particularly Floyd, it took us some 63% of our fund balance to get through Floyd. That's our job, is we can't spend all the money. But I don't quite understand what you're saying. We're not going to approve the budget until at least May, probably June. I would ask you to just get with the manager on those car situation, and y'all present to the board a way that both of you are comfortable with. If the 3 vehicles you're going to buy, you've got say-so over the federal forfeitures, and you want to buy the 3 cars, certainly this board is not going to hinder you from doing that, but you need to structure it in such a way where you can present it to the board that way. That's not the way it came to us. It came to us as a fund balance item for 13 cars. And we certainly don't want to put any county employee, particularly your deputies, in what they do in a car that is unsafe. That's not the idea of this board by any means.
And as you said, bring it before the board of what I deem. It's not what I deem. If the budget, if 13 cars that we talked about is cut, then it's not me, it's the federal government says you cannot supplant that budget with that item. So obviously that's where we're at with it.
But that's what you and our administration needs to work out how to do that. Rather than us just say this morning, we're gonna approve 13 cars, and maybe you'll pay for some of it in the future if you get this or whatever. I don't feel comfortable doing it that way.
Okay, we had talked about it. That was where me and him had come up with that number of 13.
Okay?
And that's where we're at. I just wanted to bring it to you to let you know where we were at, so that y'all would know.
Is that suitable with the board to allow?
I have a question in connection with
Mr. Belfield?
purchasing. The counties, through your sheriff association, maybe for purchasing vehicles and other equipment, piggyback together to do that, maybe that they get a discount?
We are. We're doing that through the Sheriff's Association. They've got a fine program that's also extended out to the whole county, where we can buy cars cheaper through this association than if we have to go to retailers outside. Edgecombe County's doing that now. We're doing that. Franklin County's doing that. Obviously, we're going to use drug asset forfeiture because we've got more than both of those two counties, and we're wanting to use that also to supplant the budget, because if 13 cars we ask for, we can do that then if we're not cut. But obviously, we're doing that. We're trying to be good stewards. And that's the reason. It's not like I'm trying to hold this money. I'm trying to provide it to help the county.
One question, if I could. Let me get this straight. The request for next year you've made that request. If you get asset forfeiture money in the current year budget, before July 1, if it comes down, you can use that money.
We can use that money.
Right, for vehicles.
Right.
Okay.
And we're in the process of doing that now, trying to do that. But then after July, we can't do that. That's correct.
I understand.
And I thought that maybe it won't all answered, and that's the reason I wanted to come to you now, so that we all know on the board
So
exactly what's going on.
if they keep it at 10 during the next budget year, you can't use that money for vehicles, but prior to July 1, you can use some of that money for vehicles.
That is correct.
Okay.
And I would just say, Mr. Manager, when you bring us the final budget, take that into account, and then the board can make the decision whether we approve it or not approve it, whatever the whole budget is.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other comments on that one? Next item, sir.
That was the only ones. Also, obviously, Jeremy Hardy is being paid out of asset forfeiture. I'd asked for that to be taken into the budget. He's one of our employees. I just think it's better to be paying it out of our county instead of paying it out of asset forfeiture. And then all we're going to do is take that money and turn it back around into cars and equipment thing. I think, and I think the government looks at it as, it's better to use it for equipment and things of that nature and training than it is for a employee as far as a salary. And that would just add clarification to taking the position as lieutenant, paying it out of our funds of Nash County than using asset forfeiture. Because if something went awry later down the road and we didn't have any, we got an employee there we can stop equipment, we can stop buying, but you can't stop paying an employee. That's my reasoning for that.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. I just wanted to add some clarity to it, and I thank you for your time.
Sure.
And I don't want it to be construed that me and my county manager don't work together, because we work very well together. But I just wanted to get this clarity to everybody. Instead of third person passing along, I wanted to pass it along directly to you so that you knew.
Well, this board has determined in the past that the best way for us to work is for us to get any information on any subject as a group whenever possible. And that's why we chose to do it as we did this morning, because we all like to hear it at the same time. Then we can hear what questions are asked back to the presenter, and not in your case, but any case. So we just seem to operate better. Any other board member have a comment at this time? All right, we thank you, sir.
And thank you, Mr. County Manager, for your time over the Easter holidays. Thank you. Thank you.
The emails continue to work. All right, any other item to bring before the board prior to, now, am I adjourning, do we get back together before then? refresh my memory.
You,
Adjourn to the 16th, I believe.
yeah,
Talk about another budget meeting date.
Right. Yeah, we hadn't done that yet.
the legislative conference or meeting in Pasquotank, I do not believe requires, even though there's majority of you there, that you're not convening
Past,
for
the attorney has
business.
ruled that we did not, that
Yeah.
was not considered a meeting.
That's right.
That's what I couldn't quite remember what that item was, but I knew we got together one more time.
I would suggest we get together, the last week in, April or sometime around after the first meeting in April, and we'll present the budget on the 16th first meeting in May.
May.
And we'll present the, budget on,
May the 7th.
maybe 21st. Things are real fluid. I'm not sure it'll,
Well, I really think we should present the budget at our regular meeting in this room,
okay.
if that works for you, which
Yeah,
would
that
be May the
does.
7th. And you still got
I think-
June
yeah.
to work on it if you have to.
Yeah, last year, we ended up having the second meeting in this room also to present the budget.
Okay. The
But-
second meeting in May?
Yes,
Are you talking about the second meeting in May, you may need that time? Which-
Yeah.
Which I have no problem with.
yeah,
So you're talking about the 21st of May?
right. And we moved that meeting to, in
To this
here
room.
last year, but we'll try to have it by the 7th, but,
Well, you don't have to make that decision this morning. The only decision you gotta
Yeah.
make is when the,
when do y'all want to meet? When's,
Well, I'm gonna be out of town on the 21st.
Well, we
Be,
meet,
in fact, out of the state.
Of
on the
May?
in May, on the
Okay.
21st.
well, shouldn't we meet after we have the meeting with the
Yes.
school board
right.
right,
regarding their budget? Because we've already been through it with Nash Community.
that's the 24th, of April. We can meet later that week, 25th, 26th,
Or you got April the 30th.
or April the 30th, a Monday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, anytime. If you want to do the 30th, just because it's a Monday and have a Monday meeting, that's fine. If you want to do it the week before, on Wednesday or Thursday, the 25th or 26th.
On the 25th, I have a doctor's appointment, 11:30.
What about 30th?
30th?
30th is on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
That work for
That's
everybody?
fine. That's fine.
When?
You want to do it morning or afternoon?
When did you say the 30th?
And this is a budget work session.
Right. I would say either 9 in the morning or 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon.
I'd rather do it in the morning if that works for everybody. If it doesn't, I'm fine otherwise.
9 o'clock in the morning, okay with everybody on the 30th? I think we got a consensus.
Good.
Well, I think we determined that we could adjourn this meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Outlaw, is there a second? Second by Mr. Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? And it's still only 11:30. Almost. Thank y'all.
Tuesday,